Good morning, virtual villagers. I'm Kate from What Kate Made. Welcome along to my session this morning. I'll just give you a heads up. Please forgive me. I am so full of cold this morning. I've just woken up. I'm feeling so I'm battling on, but I have my peppermint tea, which will keep me going, and we shall get on with spooky sock spiders. Now, this is the one I made earlier. Oh, it's very spooky. Now it's massive. It's come out a lot bigger than I thought. I've put mine on elastic so it bounces, but you don't have to do that. And the other thing I had to do was, among my enormous stash of craft things, I could only find 4 black pipe cleaners. So on my practice one, I used red. I'm actually quite pleased with that. I think that looks even spookier. But I'm going to show you the one with black. So let's put Mr. Spooky Spider to one side and we'll get ahead with, sorry, got distracted then. It's my cold. We'll get on with showing you what you need to make these spiders. Well, obviously, you need socks, a sock anyway. So the sock I'm using is a black sports sock. So it's got a ribbed top, which we don't use, and we use mostly the foot bit. It's stretchy, it's easy to manipulate, they're brilliant. You make loads of things out of socks. So that is a new sock as well, because I don't wear these. You don't have to be a sports sock, it could be an ordinary lady's sock or even a men's sock. What else have I got here? I've got some bits of felt, which I'm going to use to make the fangs with. Got some toy stuffing. I've got various pairs of scissors. I've got a big fabric scissors and little pointy scissors. I've got sewing thread and needles, which are already threaded up. You'll be pleased to hear. I've got my pipe cleaners. So I've got black ones this time. So I've got 4 there. I've got my glue gun, which has reminded me to switch it on. There we go. I've got elastic. Now this is the elastic I used, which is a thicker, stretchy, thread-like elastic. But I also have this thinner one that I bought for sewing with. Can you see that? Now, one thing that you can do is weight. Sorry, we're going to put some weight into the spider, and I found that this thin one with the weight in it was it stretched too easily. It wasn't suitable. But if you didn't put any weight in it, if you just used toy stuffing, that would be strong enough. Now, talking about the weight, what I use to weight my toys, what I have been using in the past is just rice. So rice or lentils or beans, dried stuff, anything that's got a bit of weight to it. Recently, I've changed to using reclaimed plastic beans, because if the rice gets wet, then you've had it. So I thought the beans were probably more, the plastic beads were probably more user friendly. This is a piece of out the leg of some tights. Can you hear my dog barking? He's going to come upstairs in a minute. This is what I use to put my rice in. After having experimented with several things, I always find you get anything else like a plastic bag, or you get a rustle. With this, you don't, and it's easy to use, and you can just use old tights. If you get a ladder in your tights, then you can just chuck them to one side and say, "Oh, I'll use that for." Here's my dog coming. So what I do is tie a knot in the end of it and make a little bag. Okay, right. So I think that's everything. I've shown you everything. I'm going to point the camera down now, and you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So just bear with me a second. We're a little bit tilted today. Just trying to make sure my camera doesn't fall over. Right, there we go. We're ready. So we'll start with the sock. And we're going to divide. I'll just get my other spider and I can show you quickly. It's got 3 sections. So we're going to stuff the sock and divide it into 3 sections. I'm going to use needle and thread. You don't have to. You could just use rubber bands or string or wool or anything. All you need to do is just tie it into a section. So we're going to start with the head. Now I start with the head at this end because you need to get rid of this bit of the sock when you get there, and I didn't want to have I wanted that to go underneath the bottom, and the head sort of stands up a little bit. So anyway, stuff they so you're using it, you want about a golf ball size head. So I'm going to just stuff it with enough. So that's about right. And then I'm going to take a needle and thread. My dog's down here now. I always double thread my needles and tie a knot in the end, so that gives me a loop that I can then use to anchor the thread. So that's my thread knotted in, and then I'm just going to run a running stitch around to gather it. Oh dear, please forgive me sniffing. As I said, I'm full of cold, so talking today is not going to be easy. But you never thought you'd hear me say that. But I have got my tea, as I said. In fact, I'm going to take a drink just now. Please forgive me. My throat's going very dry, but I find peppermint tea is great when you've got a cold. Right, so that's my running stitch round, and I'm going to gather that tightly, wrap that around a couple of times, and then anchor it off. I'll just do that again, so that is securely knotted. Give that a snip. So that's our head made. Now the upper half of the body is made in the same way. So again, we need toy stuffing. This isn't actually toy stuffing. You know, if you've watched me regularly, you'll know of my love of reclaim, recycle, reuse. So this is the stuffing out of a cushion. So you know when cushions get a little bit flat, and if you wash them, they can go a little bit matted. So I take the cushions apart and I reuse the stuffing for toys, because it's the same stuff. It's fire resistant and everything. But you can, I mean, and you can go and buy old cushions probably at a charity shop for £1 or something like that, and it's a lot cheaper than buying fibre fill brand new. And I find it, because it's a bit stiffer, possibly because it's been washed or it's got a little bit matted, I find that actually makes a better stuffing, because it's stiffer, it's not soft. A lot of the things I do need a good stiff stuffing. Right, so that's the body bit, or the top of the body, I should say. Wrap around and around again to keep it nice and secure. As I say, you don't have to stitch it. You could use rubber bands, or you could use black yarn and just tie it round. I just find the stitching gives a nice gather. Okay, so that's that needle finished. I've all preloaded all my needles so you don't have to watch me. Now, the body, the second part of the body is different, because that's where we're going to put our rice. So this is my piece of tights with a knot in the end. And I've got my rice in a little measuring cup, and I'm just going to, the easiest way I found to do it is to just do it like that. And then I'm going to tie another knot at the top to hold all the rice in. As I say, I wouldn't do this if there's a chance that what I'm making was going to get wet, because the rice will just go into rice pudding. Now, we're going to just put a little bit of stuffing around that. So I tend to just sort of make a thin layer and enclose it in it like that. So it's like a snowball, like making a snowball. And then that's going to go into our sock. And putting a bit of stuffing around it just makes it a little bit less bumpy, a bit softer looking. So I'm going to push that in as tight as I can, I'm going to gather it really tightly because this is where we've come to the heel. So it's sort of moving off that way now. And I want to keep it in a straight line if I possibly can. So that's where the heel starts. I'm going to anchor my thread there. Now, the shape of the spider, he's sort of, if I show you, he's sort of sitting up proud here. I forgot to saying he, might be a she, looks like a black widow. And I used my glue gun for that, but it did make it a bit messy. So this, you know, this is the beauty of doing it earlier before I come on air, and then I can find out all the little things that don't work, and then you don't have to, you can get the benefit of my practice. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, I mean, you can use glue, and if you've got the time for it to set, I would use something other than hot glue. The trouble with hot glue is that stringiness, it tends, and it because it's black, it shows up when you get bits of stringy glue all over. So I would recommend you use something other if you've got time for it to dry. So maybe hot glue, not hot glue, that's what I just said. Maybe PVA or something like, I don't know whether you can still get Bostik. It was a sort of old-fashioned glue that wasn't PVA, but wasn't a hot glue either. Right, so that's the last bit gathered. Oh, I've got a knot in the thread now. I don't know whether anybody's out there watching. Nobody's commented yet. Just give me a wave if you're there. Right, so that's the last bit gathered up. Now what we're going to do now is cut that sock off. I'll use my big scissors. So I'm just going to cut it as close as I can to the stitching, but try not to, because what I don't want is a lot left over. Probably should have cut it before I stitched it. Right. So what I'm going to do is try and tuck that in. Need something to poke it with. There we go. Tuck that end in so that we've got just a nice neat gather. There we go, like that. You could give it a few more, I think I will give it a few more stitches. Just going to re-knot that. Oh, nice watering with the colds. Can't see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to run a few stitches of like across that to bring it together. And that will be at the underside of my spider so that it won't really show. Now, I know Halloween's this week. I know a lot of the children will be back at school already, but this is something you could maybe do as an after school activity if you have children or grandchildren. Right, that's that bit done. So now you can see we've got the body shape. A bit of thread there, cut that off. And what we want it to do is we want those two bits to be squished together like that. And we want the head to be slightly up at an angle. Now, as I say, you can do this with glue. If you've got time and the right sort of glue, fabric glue would be ace. You can glue it and then sort of clamp it and leave it. Whereas I don't have that much time because I've got you watching me. So I'm going to sew mine. I'm going to get my final needle, my final threaded up needle. So what I'm going to do is sew the bits together. So I'm going to start at the bottom underneath, and I'm going to, between the the upper half of the body and the lower half of the body, I'm just going to stitch through one bit and then the other and just pull it tight. And I'm going to do that all the way around. Doesn't have to be neat because your stitches disappear, but what you want to do is pull those two pieces of the body together. So can you see how I'm not going down there and doing it, I'm doing it from sort of like a little bit of a way up on both shapes, and basically just slip stitching it together so that it looks a little bit more like one body. Oh, I forgot to mention googly eyes. That's the one thing I haven't got here. I'm going to get them in a minute from my desk over there. Okay, so that is, I'm going to just fasten that off. That's the thorax done. And if I turn it over, you can see it looks a little bit more like a spider's body now. Now for the head bit, I just want to tilt that bit back. So I'm just going to sew this bit around the neck. And this way you won't get as much glue mess. Hot glue is brilliant, but it's very messy. So I'm going to make sure I've got it the right way up, and I want it to go like that. So I'm going to anchor my thread there. Oh dear, my eyes are watering. This is just a little bit tricky. There we go. So that's nicely anchored. I'm going to bring that head up to the position I want it in, and then again sew across both sections to pull it back. That's far enough. Just put a few more in to just keep it secure. So if you'd used rubber bands or string or wool to tie your bits together, you would then probably need to glue it. So that is pretty much how I want the body to look. Now I mentioned googly eyes, didn't I? And I forgot the googly eyes, so bear with me just 1 second. There, I've got a box of googly eyes. It's entirely up to you how many eyes you use, because some spiders have 8, like a little row. What I've done on mine is 2 medium-sized eyes and 2 small eyes. However, on this one, I think I might go for like a line of small eyes. And I've got tiny, tiny eyes in here. I may be making a rod for my own back in the fact that, can you see how tiny they are? So pick one up. In fact, they're going to be difficult to glue. Can you see? Tiny, tiny eyes. So I'm going to do 8 if I can find 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're so tiny. They're all sticking together. 8. Actually, I'm going to put 2 slightly larger ones in the middle. Oh, they've got eyelashes on there, no good. I've got quite a variety of little eyes in here. I use quite a lot of them when I'm doing things for children because they seem to like the little eyes. What size do I want? That size, I think. Let's find another one. There we go. There. Can you see those? Put those to one side. So there I've got my little tiny, tiny eyes and 2 slightly bigger eyes. So I'm going to do the face first, I think. A few of you are starting to say hello. Hi, Anna. Bear with me. Let's get a drink again. Right. So my glue is hot now, hopefully. Yeah. Now, in order to not make a mess, normally I would glue the eye. So I'm gonna, with the bigger ones I can, the little ones I think they're gonna be a bit tricky. So you just put a tiny little bit of glue on your eye. Try not to burn your fingers. That's my favourite trick. And then I'm going to stick the eye in the bigger eyes in the middle together, like that. I think that looks all right. It's difficult because I'm doing it backwards so you can see what I'm doing. Don't need much glue, but you see what I mean about the stringiness, and that all gets on the black sock. Now let me see where that one's going to go. Put the other one a bit too much in the middle. Right, so there, got two eyes. Now the little ones, I think what I'm going to do is just put some glue on this and hope it'll stick on, because they're really, really tiny. Maybe a bit more. Trouble is, it's soaking into the sock, the glue. That's one side. As I say, I think my eyes are slightly off center, but it'll do. What's the sure about that? I think I may have put too many eyes on it, but hey, it's Halloween. That one's going to fall off. Just need to put a bit more glue on there. I'm afraid there's probably no other alternative than to glue the eyes on. Sometimes you can buy sew-on googly eyes, but they are a bit more expensive. So, and if you're doing this with children, I would probably recommend that you do the gluing. So there we go. He's got multiple eyes. So the next thing we want is fangs. Now, because I did red fangs on mine, because I did red legs, but because I'm using the black pipe cleaners on this one, and the black fangs wouldn't show, I'm going to cut them out of felt. I'm just trying to think what's the best shape. You want to get a sort of triangle shape. That's probably a bit big, but I'll go with that for now and then trim it down with my small scissors. Right, so I've got two triangle shapes. They are different sizes. That's probably a bit too long, so I'm going to cut it down a bit like that, make a nice sharp point, and then cut a bit off the top. So I've got that sort. Where are you? There, that sort of size, I think. And then I'm just going to make the other one the same, hopefully. It's a bit. All right, so it's near enough. And then again, I'm going to go with glue. I'm going to glue on the felt because then you don't get as much mess. Oh, that's the theory anyway. So that's my first fang. Ow. And my second fang. I wouldn't like to meet a spider this size on a dark night, would you? So, you can see his face now. So that's his face. I think that you can agree that looks fairly spooky. Right, legs. So your pipe cleaners, the spider has 8 legs, as you know. Now I'm getting all fluffed up. So your pipe cleaners are all going to be bent in the same way. So what I found the easiest thing to do is bend them all together. So first of all, the first bend is bend them in half so that because they're going to be pairs of legs. So bend them that way. And then, let me remember this. The second bend is about there, about halfway along, and you just bend it at an angle like that. Then the final bend is the feet. So each individual one, you're just going to bend back by about half a centimetre. See? I'm keeping it all together because I want them to be roughly, if you're going to stand this on a table and they're not even, it's going to be all over the place. So, can you see? Sorry, there's our bends. So let me just take them apart now. Got all a bit tangled. So that's your leg, and it's going to be attached to the body like that, and then you'll spread it out. So again, I'm going to glue the pipe cleaners and not the body to try and minimize the mess. I'm separating them out into pairs. Then I'm going to put my spider there, and I'm going to decide where I want them to be. So they go like that. Probably not that far apart. So we'd have 2 pairs on each bit of the body. Like that. And then the final one there. And what I will do now is, as I said, I'm going to glue the pipe cleaner. And then push that where I want it to be. And just burn myself and then hold it while it sticks. It's got to be up. Trying to hold it on without burning my fingers. Then the last one is going around this side. Just make sure it's not sticking to the table. So once they're dried, you can readjust them to get them standing properly. Push them together and spread them out, or whatever you want to do. Spread those out. Look, that one's actually come undone. Let me just wait while that sets a bit more. Now it is a little bit messy, but it's on the bottom, so you're not really going to see it. So there we go. So basically that's your spider done. Now, if you want to hang your spider, I'm going to hang mine in my porch on Valentine. Goodness me, Halloween. So I'm going to use a bit of elastic, and I'm going to use this stronger elastic, like I said. And yesterday, I really struggled to get it in my darning needle. But this morning, when I was just flicking through Facebook, as you do, I saw a tip. So if you bear with me, I'll show you the tip. You need a little piece of slip of paper that is narrow enough to go through when it's folded in half to go through. So I fold it in half, and it's got to be narrow enough to go through there. It's not at the moment, so I'll trim it down so it will pass through the eye of your needle. Not quite. I haven't tried it yet, so this is why I'm kind of like feeling my way a little bit. So that'll go through my needle. Can you see that? And then you put the end, I'll cut a piece of this off. You put that, you open the paper up, and you put your thread in it. This works. The tip was for chunky wool, but it works just as well with this slightly thicker elastic that is too thick to go through. Then you thread the paper through and pull it through, and there you go. You've threaded your needle. That's amazing. I know, I'm very easily pleased by these little things. Now, what I'm going to do is put my needle, my elastic, between the two pieces of the body. So I'm going to thread it through that side and then thread it through that side and then pull it through. It's a little bit tight. And then tie it in a knot. Now, it's entirely up to you whether you double your elastic. You can pull that through and make like a double elastic like that. It's worth experimenting a little bit because what you want it to do is hang neatly. So I think I'm going to leave that like that. So I'm going to just tie a double knot there. And then tie a loop. Now I'll probably hang mine from the sort of suction cup hooks that, because my porch is like UPVC, like a conservatory. There's nowhere to put hooks in. If I want to hang something, I have to put a sucker hook on. I use them at Christmas. So that, let me turn you up a little bit. That is your spooky spider. I think they're great. Now, I had a little think about what else you could make in the same way. And I thought you could probably make, I'll just turn you right up so you can see my face. You could probably make a bat. If I was making a bat, I would make a slightly smaller head and a sort of longer body. And then tie it off in the same way, use, the same things for the eyes and the fangs. And then I would make the wings. Probably I'd get some black felt and cut the wings out of black felt. And if it's a little bit floppy, you could always put like a pipe cleaner along the top to stiffen it and make it stand out. But I think you'll agree that my spooky spiders, I might end up scaring away my Halloween trick-or-treaters because they're that scary. Now, if you are watching with children, I'm so childish. If you're watching with children or watching on catch up after school, that, as long as you've got a few crafty bits in the house, even the eyes, you don't need to use googly eyes. You could sew them with like knots in white yarn or something like that. If you've got a sock and pipe cleaners, you can manage that, and they're going to look great. They're quite big, so they're going to look great in the porch. Right, well, that's a little bit of a short session today, but I may have a go at making the bats and put pictures up on my own Facebook page, which is always sort of, you can find the link in the comments here. And have a happy Halloween. Hope you get lots of nice treats. And I shall see you in a fortnight, I think. So thanks for watching, and I'll just say goodbye.